So with that, we are going to get into our review for the week. Like I said at the beginning, we are going to be reviewing the new Den of Thieves movie, Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. Um, a movie that I've been excited for since I found out that it was coming out. Definitely like the first one ends in a spot where you kind of expect a sequel, but it had been like surprisingly a 7 year gap, which is wild to me. It's just crazy how much time flies because I remember going to watch that movie with my parents, and I was still in high school when that movie came out. So that's kind of nuts that it's been that long. But yeah, so we finally get a sequel. Gerard Butler and O'Shea Jackson return um, after the events of the first movie, which I know you've just watched for the first time like within the last week.
Yeah.
Um, so not as long of a wait for you, but um, I know you still enjoyed the movie nonetheless. So yeah, we can just jump right into it. I gotta say that I had a great time with the new Den of Thieves. The first one was a ton of fun. I love a good heist movie, kind of like grimy on the streets of LA, um, like cops and robber vibes. And then the movie closes out with a sick heist and a sick gunfight and a pretty big twist at the end as well, which is, everything you want in a heist movie. Very much kind of get the vibes of Heat, like a modern rendition of Heat, which I'm sure we'll talk about later during our draft.
It'll come back up.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, I was very, very surprised by Den of Thieves one a couple years ago. And so I was very excited for this one, and I gotta say, like it met my expectations, if not exceeded them a little more. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous, like hearing that it was gonna have like a Europe backdrop, because I just think it worked so well on the streets of LA, and it seems like the kind of story that I don't necessarily need to see overseas. But they took the step to move it over there. They took a risk, and I think that it played just as well as the streets of LA did. Um, I will say where I think this one differs from the first one. I said the first one was kind of grimy, and more grounded. This felt like a more sleek, like not serious movie, but like I feel like the stakes were higher. Um, so that made it entertaining. And it was similar to the first one. It had a lot of build up. It's kind of like, okay, let's get this thing going. But then when this heist gets going, I think this heist is way better than the heist in the first one, um, which we can talk about. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed Den of Thieves. O'Shea Jackson Jr. and Gerard Butler, I think they shined in this one. They're kind of like buddy chemistry. Was really funny in points, and you could kind of feel it. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. Curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't when you told me, so I watched the first one, told you my thoughts, and you told me kind of what was like the premise of this one. Even though we knew at the end of the first one kind of where this one would be, we had an idea, kind of. Um, uh, and I think I agree with you. The heist in this one is so much cooler than the first one. I think this one is so more ins and outs, has to be perfect. I agree with you, higher stakes, and they are, going into a place that is like world security. It's not just, the government of that nation. It's like everybody in the world is coming here to do this. And we'll get more in specific probably in a second. But like, yeah, man, I agree with you. The buddy vibes that you were getting from Donnie or Jean Jacques and what's Gerard Butler's character?
Big Nick.
Big Nick. Yeah. I enjoyed some scene. So like with the first one, and I told you this kind of like I don't think there were any scenes before the heist that I was just like, wow, what a scene. Like I don't care. I don't really care about these characters. Don't care about these like don't really care. Even like when they were explaining how they were getting in, like I was just like kind of okay, whatever. But this one, they didn't go in too much depth of like how it was going to get done, right? We kind of saw their inner workings of like, all right, the cameras are here. This is a blind spot. This changes every so often, but they didn't really give us the whole plan until like the end when we were watching it. That was when we were watching the plan unfold, and it really felt like everything they did was meticulous and it was perfect and it had to be perfect. I mean, dude, like I just love the heist movies where you're like, we have this much time, we have to be in this room, we have 90 seconds. If it's over 90 seconds, we are like screwed. Like we're gonna be toast. They're counting on their clock, like they got their watches going, they're talking back and forth to somebody who's watching the cameras. I just think it's so dope to see a heist like that as opposed to like I do think the heist in the first one is good. I think this one is better. I had more fun with this movie. There were more. I don't think the characters are like completely fleshed out, but I do think they more are fleshed out in this movie because we're not worried about the heist team as a whole. We're worried about Jean Jacques and we're worried about Big Nick. That's it. And we knew the other three people that were going to be in the heist probably weren't going to be a big deal at the end. Like they were just there kind of to get paid. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I think this one was more fun. I think the backdrop was cool. I think the ending after kind of the heist was going on, I think that was a couple twists where we were like, "Oh God, what?" And yeah, you brought up the scene where they got pushed in the water towards the middle of the movie, and that was a funny scene. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah. No, when they were tripping balls at the party, I think they were literally like all did ecstasy or something, and they were just tripping all night long. That was so funny.
Indeed.
Um, really, really funny. Um, and like you said, that I kind of agree with you in the first one a little bit, where it is kind of like you don't get much out of the characters before the heist, but I feel like in this one you definitely did, kinda.
The only argument for like not doing that in the first movie is because I guess when you see the movie for the first time, you're thinking that all of these characters are important. Now that we've seen both, like they don't matter because we know who
Yeah.
the mastermind is at the end.
Yeah. And then you finally get a little bit of a backstory for Donnie,
Yeah.
why he does it and why he's so good at it, which I thought was a cool little thing he talked about. And then Gerard Butler, Big Nick, talked about like, why he wanted to be a cop. So I thought that was a cool moment they shared. And yeah, their chemistry was definitely a lot better. And
Yeah,
him,
absolutely.
uh, him getting to be a part of the heist was a good twist.
Yeah.
Um, Briefly on the heist, I wanted to say I mentioned it to you, but I love how the heist had like minimal dialogue. There was no dial like hardly any dialogue. Very, very like if there was, it was whispers. And there was I don't know if you really noticed, but for most of it there was no score
Right.
at all. You could just hear every movement they were making, and I think that was a great choice by the director to kind of show like you know, how quiet they had to be and everything. You could literally like hear a pin drop in my theater. Everyone's like,
Yeah.
you know, locked in. So I thought that was a super cool choice. Something I feel like I haven't really seen in a whole bunch of other heist movies. But yeah, no, I thought that was sick. And then similar to how we got the sick gunfight scene after the heist in the first one, we got a really exciting and fun car chase scene and kind of car shootout scene. That car shootout scene was sick. In
Yep.
the tunnel when it starts in the tunnel,
Yep.
um, and they're hanging out the windows and stuff, bro. It is so freaking cool. And then they get out onto like the mountainside and they're drifting around and still shooting at each other.
Yeah.
I thought that was sick. They definitely did a good job with that. Um, and then, like you said, it kind of had some twists as well. I had a feeling watching the movie about Gerard Butler. So, spoiler if you haven't seen it, he actually double crosses Donnie and arrests him at the end of the heist, which I kind of saw coming, but
There were a couple comments made throughout the movie where you were like,
kind of hinted at it.
yeah,
But um, yeah, so that happens. But then there's a twist after that where Gerard Butler kind of has like he you could tell he's gotten attached to Donnie, and so he figures out a way to basically get him back out of prison um, after he is arrested. So maybe Gerard Butler does like kind of similar to Paul Walker in the Fast and Furious movies. The cop gone dirty.
Yep.
That's kind of vibes I'm getting from Gerard Butler. Like he's grown attached to these people. He kind of likes the lifestyle and the excitement of it.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of wants to, really jump into it. And I think that kind of hints at it at the end of the movie, when he basically helps Donnie get out of prison with I guess the mob boss or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and then that ending kind of sets up a next one, which I think is pretty exciting. Similar to how the last one kind of ended on a note where you're like, okay, I can see this story going forward. You got that with this one as well. So very, very cool.
Yeah, and remember in when they were actually in the safe, they were looking for the one stone and the pink one with the GPS tracker, which we saw at the beginning. And we were like, or I was sitting there, I was like, okay, like Donnie is so meticulous, right? Why does he need this stone? Like, look at all the money he's already gotten. And I kind of had forgot the whole arc of I need my stone back. But we never see them actually make the deal of like we never see it in the movie besides them being on the boat, when they got thrown into the water. So we never see the deal between Donnie, Nick, and the mob boss about, oh, when we give you back the diamond, here's what we need from you, right? And at the end where they killed the two guys that are walking towards the car, and then they have the new car for them, and then those are eventually the guys who break Donnie and I guess the rest of the crew out of the jail because at the end he said all the tigers are out of the cage or all the cats are out of the cage. Um, so it was very cool to see that. I think that was like not like a oh my gosh, but hey, that's pretty cool. Like they're gonna stay in touch, and they obviously think Donnie is like a genius because he did rob the World Diamond Center, and they thought it was impenetrable. And I just always like the movies that somebody does something because it's a challenge. Like they want to do it. I like that. And I like that Donnie's reason is like not because I want the money, not because I want that.
Just
It's
like the
because,
thrill of it.
yeah, I want to know I can do it. And I just think it's cool. I always like that. Like they're not really after the money because if like if they didn't have to have the money, they would just go in, break in, and leave. But obviously, you gotta have multiple people, and you gotta pay them. But like, he would just go in and be like, "Look, I broke into your vault. Deal with it. No, I'm just gonna leave because I can." And he's cool like that. He's a cool character. Yeah, the heist is sick. The only thing I have on the heist itself and the gunfight after every other movie, it seems like the protagonist and everybody has unlimited ammo. Does it not feel like they don't have any ammo in this movie? They shoot like 10 times and then they're like, new mag. And I'm like, you just said there were 30 bullets in that mag. You did not shoot 30 times.
I don't know. I'm not paying attention to that much to
I
it.
always pay attention to that. Because like some movies you'll have where like they can just shoot forever. Not this squad. They have to
Hey,
reload like 30 times.
I guess they're just bad shots, man. They're robbers. They're not shooters.
I guess so.
But yeah. And I think like we both said, it ends on a note where, Donnie's basically it kind of sounds like he's gonna be a slave, sort of. Not a slave, but you know what I mean. He's gonna be the guy, working for the mafia. He's kind of stuck there after, they broke him out of jail. So like you're working for us now, and there's not really anything you can do about it. So kind of curious to see how that plays out if they do a third one. I hope they come out with a third one. I think it could be a cool story. Kind of get Big Nick back in it, where he fully turns, and then they kind of figure out a way maybe to get out from under the mob boss.
Yeah.
Obviously, hopefully, another sick heist. So I kind of feel like literally the first thing I thought when I walked out of this movie is like I'm kind of getting like early Fast and Furious vibes where I can just see this continuing. Not like it, I don't think it's gonna get that
We
ridiculous,
we
but I
don't
can
need
see
10 movies.
I no, but I'm saying I could see this continuing for a while and then progressively just getting like more ridiculous.
Yeah.
They were mostly both this one and the last one were
These
more
both
grounded.
felt like they could actually have like
Actually happened. Yeah, they were more grounded. But that's how the Fast and Furious movies were too. But it just kind of feels like it's going in a way that, they're introducing more characters and adding more stakes. And I even made the comp to Big Nick being like Brian O'Connor. Um, yeah. So obviously it's not going to get, I don't think it's going to get to as ridiculous as Fast and Furious, but I'm just kind of getting that vibe from it, which is cool. So yeah, hopefully they do another one. I think O'Shea Jackson Jr. is a great actor. He still hadn't been in too much stuff, but he's kind of coming into his own, and it's kind of ridiculous how much he looks like his dad.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, he was really good. Obviously, Gerard Butler is like, he's been doing it a lot longer than O'Shea Jackson. So, yeah, they both did good. I definitely very much enjoyed it. I honestly don't know which one I enjoy more. There's parts of one that I like more than the other. Um, but I did give this movie 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, and I wrote down 7.4.
Okay.
It's right on the edge of a 4 star for me because if anything's a 7.5, it rounds up to four
Right.
stars. So
Hmm.
it's right there to almost being 4 stars for me. Um, I think it did really well in a lot of spots. I think what would have made it a step better for me is maybe a better like I think you need more of a supporting cast instead of just making them to the focus. Um, Obviously, like that woman was like kind of the boss of the other people they were working with. But I feel like we could have had maybe a couple more little side characters, just like in Fast and Furious. You got the two Mexican guys that don't speak English. You got Roman Pierce, played by Tyrese. You got Ludacris. You got so many different like characters that you also care about, and I think that is something that this movie kind of lacked a little bit. I feel like you had more characters in the first one than you really did in this one. Um, but that's just my opinion, but still doesn't take away from the movie. Still really, really good movie. So, yeah, I'm gonna set with a 7.4.
I gave it. I think I gave it three or three. I think I gave it 3.5 stars, which would be a seven. Obviously, I'm with you. It would round up. I don't think it's a seven. I think it's a little bit lower on my. I agree with you. I think the if you had strong supporting characters, I think this movie could be a lot more fun. Like they try to make the French cop like you try to like him, but there's not enough there for you to really like him. The only thing they have in common is that they're both divorced and barely get to see their kids. Like, okay, that's cool, but like, and then agree with you like that for the first, first fourth, or third or fourth of the movie, like you get those two brothers that are together and one's the ex or whatever, and then you know that they're gearing up to like what they want the stuff from the heist, but we don't know anything about them besides like they're an ex, right? So I think those two characters are like pointless kinda. And then you don't really care for the girl, like he dances with her on the rooftop and that's it. Like, and then she's in the whole thing. But yeah, I'm with you. I would probably I think I wrote down a 6.8 is what I wrote down. Just below a seven. I would
Um,
definitely round it up to like on Letterboxd it'd be 3.5.
yep.
There's just you when we talked about the first one, I said I think the first one for me has like 2.5 stars on Letterboxd. Like I think that if it would be lower if the final 45 minutes didn't exist. Like I didn't care for anything before that. But this one's a little bit better in the keeping the preparation like out of it a little bit. Like we know they're trying to get some stuff and not um everything. And then again, the supporting cast, I agree with you. I think we should have a little bit more fun characters. I mean, it really is two characters. Nobody else really matters in the whole grand scheme of things. But like O'Shea said, he's always in control of his environment. So
Yeah. So what's that? 7.4 for me. You said 6.8 for you.
Mhm.
I think both of those are, completely fair scores. It's not just like the greatest heist movie ever,
Yeah,
but it's a lot of fun, and I think literally anybody can go in and have a fun
yeah,
time with this movie. You're gonna laugh.
yeah.
Got some cool action. It's got some kind of twists and turns. It's not perfect, but it's fun.
Hey, entertaining for sure.
It's a good like early release of the year. Usually
Yeah,
January and February are kind of like they don't. A lot of movies don't come out.
agreed.
Uh,
I'm
yeah.
with you.
Shout out Den of Thieves too. Kind of excited to see where they take it. Hopefully, it's not as long of a gap. until the next one.
No,
So
we'll see.